Our last scene is Sean Wilkinson. Sean's friend Chelsea says, you may know him as the president of the AIGA, the co-founder and art director of The Bollard, or the drummer from Honey Clouds. But if you were lobstering back in the summer of 2007, you'd probably know him as that big guy from the Smack Boat. Sean has never met a bird he wouldn't eat or a boar he wouldn't stuff. On his first date with his now fiancée Megan, he said, cormorants are my favorite waterfowl. He's a man of leisure and a master of cocktails. If you've ever ordered a Wilkinson at Sonny's, then you've tasted his craftsmanship. Sean and Megan are getting married soon, and they live in a patriarch purple house in Parkside, where he stashes collections of taxidermy, vintage luggage, and Harry Nilsson albums. Please welcome a man about town, Sean Wilkinson.
Thanks, Ron. Today I am talking as principal of a branding firm called Might and Main, and we're looking at the process behind one of our recent projects. So our project is the branding and design of Eventide Oyster Company, which I feel eternally lucky to have worked on and enjoy continuing to work with the guys who own the place. And it was a really great process, and it's a good peek inside how we work. So I was lucky enough to meet Arlen here on the left. Oh, too loud? Sorry. I was lucky enough to meet Arlen one night, and we started talking. He was at Hugo's at the time, and he said that he had something he wanted to talk about. He was purchasing the space next door to Hugo's and was going to turn it into an oyster farm. These salty dudes are the guys who run Winter Point Oysters. That's John Hennessy, if you can believe it, on the right, and that's his dad. And they're harvesting in the worst of weather. But Winter Point Selects were going to be like the highlight of the oyster bar. So I said, of course, yes, we're excited to work on this project, and we'll do it. We do a lot of writing. We try to call out some core characteristics of what the brand is. We really write a lot, and we tell clients that the boring part comes first, but then we get into the fun visual stuff. So we get everybody on the same page, and then we start looking at the fun visual stuff, like what are the materials the place will be made of, what are inspirational images, what are the colors, what are the typefaces, what historical documents might be influential, and what are other places doing similar things looking like out in the world. And then we start sketching, which I think everybody says is really important. I think it's basically where I get all the terrible ideas out. Nothing on this page made it anywhere close to a final product, except for maybe a dimensional E that made it close to a final product. And we always try to do multiple concepts that push the envelope really far in a few different directions, and this is not anything close to what they went with. But we said, what if they looked really modern, really pushing the envelope, kind of like John Dory, New York City oyster bar, black, neon, crazy. Another concept was more rustic, more blues, more kind of craft paper, wood. And we always mock up these ideas in Photoshop to say, you know, logos don't just live in a bubble. They live on napkins and on menus. It looked a little too Netflixy. Our designer Morgan, and thanks to Tobias Ferrer-Jones and his beautiful Gotham typeface, we really, I think, nailed it on this one, and we were really excited about it. Everybody loved this one, but they loved the aesthetics of the last board, and it was about kind of how do we fit this typeface into those concepts. So again, we mocked it up in Photoshop on windows, on tags, on menus, on coasters. That coaster on the top right finally made it to real production recently. And that was one of the first concepts we did. That doesn't always happen. My partner Ariel is a great illustrator. I went through the rigorous process of selecting some Winter Point Select oysters and eating them, and then photographing them. And she did these are original pen sketches of the oysters before they got finalized and turned into vectors that we used for the windows. We mock up a lot of ideas. We knew we wanted to use quotes on something. We knew we wanted to do some kind of tag shape thing. We knew we wanted to set apart different areas of the menu, and none of these made it to final, but we did get our quotes. They're on the back of the generic tag shaped business card. I love oysters. It's like kissing the sea on the lips. We did get to use the boxes to set apart different areas of text type on the menu. We did get to use the oyster behind type on a nice, beautiful blind emboss on a letterpress coaster. The menu is one of my favorite things because we designed it we're pains in the ass, so it's an A4 size newsprint sheet that they custom cut down at FedEx every couple of weeks. They run it through their printer, sometimes twice a day. Their menu changes all the time. And they just fold it once to put that E over the top. They print too many every day, so they use the ones they print extra to line like the old fish and chips paper that goes into, soak up grease and wrap around various things like that. So it's economical and kind of cool. And their chips are really, really good. They're on Middle Street, by the way. There's that coaster that finally got produced. This slide to me is all about the fact that this is all second round design stuff that came. We ended up building a really rich design system so that when they needed new stuff, we just said, okay, we know how to do that. It doesn't take that long. We know what colors you use. We know what typefaces. We know how things act. And we built some stamps. So it kind of gives things a little bit of a hand touch. Flip a coaster over and stamp it with a Have One on Me stamp, and it's suddenly a gift certificate. We did a lot of oyster stamps that they could customize to-go containers and menus with. They stopped doing that. It was a lot of menus they printed. There's a lot of stuff that never saw the light of day, like Go Shuck Yourself shirts, little shucker onesies. I love these illustrations that Morgan did of there's so many different kinds of oyster knives. Those might come back in the future, who knows. This really ornate receipt board. We built a website because you have to. It's responsive, works on every device, as a nod. But it also fits in their brand, and we love, we'll create anything from pixels to paper to rubber bands to stamps that fit within the brand, and that's why we get paid. And this is one of my favorite things. Of all the process and planning and over-planning and aching over things, we had no idea this was going to happen. And every photographer that goes in there ends up taking a shot of this. We had a guy hand paint the windows, and this happens every day at sunset when the sun comes over Franklin Street or whatever, in the 86. The address ends up projected on their blue wall. So, thanks.